Good evening, everyone. I'm Love Trivedi from India, and it's an evening here. I hope you all are doing fine. So we'll wait for 2-3 minutes more for others to join. In the meantime, I am going to share a link with you wherein you can tag yourself and introduce yourself. It's a Padlet link. So spend few minutes, like 2-3 minutes, entering your details on that particular Padlet. You can tag yourself. If you face any difficulties, you can always come back to me. So the link is in comment box. We'll just wait for 2-3 more minutes and then we'll begin. So you have to click on the plus symbol that you can see on your Padlet link. When you click on the link, it takes you to the Padlet. You click plus, you enter your location, and you can write any particular information about you that you would like to share with others. So it's a global graph wherein we can see where everyone is from. So I can see many entries coming up. Those of you who have joined now, I'll just reshare the link. Good evening, everyone. So we'll start in a minute. So this is the Padlet shared with you. So far I can see is people joining this seminar from various parts of the world. It's good that we are connected in globally through internet. You can simply click on this plus. You can search a place wherever you are from. So I'll simply write Mumbai. It takes you to that particular location. It geotags yourself and you can upload any files about yourself. You can share a link. You can put your picture and you can write description here. So we are good to go. So hello everyone, my name is Love Trivedi and I work at DSB International School, which is in Mumbai. My major role is I am a teacher of physics. I am also a CAS coordinator. I also support maths department and design technology department in my school. I am IBDP World Studies Extended Essay Examiner from 3 years. I am also IGCSE Physics Examiner. I also mark design technology papers. So in the diploma program, I am marking two particular papers. One is design technology and one is World Studies Extended Essay. Now, I have created, so this is just a small description. Along with academics, I am very much interested into organizing events. I am a service coordinator in my school. I like to encourage service philosophy into students. So this is a little bit description about me. Now, I have already shared a Padlet link, so we can be in touch with each other whenever we want to. Also, whenever I find any useful resources or whichever I want to share with you, I'll definitely upload those into the common drive. The link to the drive will be shared with you. If you have received a calendar invite, the link was already attached in this, or else you will get a separate email along with the recording of this seminar. So that drive, I have not uploaded any resources right now. So once the session gets over, I'm going to reload it with more and more particular resources. Now there is a Facebook group which is World Studies Extended Essay, created by me. I have recently created this group, so because I was busy marking papers, so the marking is done. So now I'm free to do few sessions on extended essay examiners. So far, if I was marking, I'm not allowed to speak about World Studies Extended Essay now. So you can always join this particular Facebook group. If you don't mind, I can use your email ID and I can send you personal invitations from this particular group. So I'll go through the chats later on. So those of you who are interested, I'll invite you via Facebook groups. So I have your email IDs. Like few of you have already registered, I can put those email ID and I can invite you to this Facebook group. Now, let's just see what are the various assessment objectives for the World Studies Extended Essay. What was the reason why IB introduced World Studies Extended Essay? The first major reason is knowledge and understanding. So, students, we are going to see how students demonstrate their knowledge, how students demonstrate their understanding through two different subjects. So far in general extended essay, students were restricted to use only one subject to portray their skills, but here you can use two or more subjects. Now, when you have two different subjects, your subject specific terminology increases. So how efficient are you in using diploma program specific terminology and the concept, so which are appropriate as per your diploma level, and to demonstrate knowledge and understanding of various sources. So how do you select the source is the major component, because while my marking, I have seen students have used various source randomly, but they did not know, they did not state from where did they get the source and what was their selection process of the source. So this is where you are going to be marked more. Then there is application and skills, how you have applied your knowledge, how you have framed your research question, which global crisis you have picked up, and how focused is your research question. Then comes synthesis and evaluation, which is your criteria C, critical thinking. How far the student have struggled, or what were the challenges faced by the student, and how deep background research was done to get a coherent integrative arguments while doing a research, and how he has critically evaluated the arguments supporting the argue. So were there situations where students did something which was not necessary as per the research question, and just to increase the word count they have written that particular part. So such things gets marked down. Then various research skills. Okay. So then there are various research skills that you develop. What are the various ITGS? What were the personal academic integrity? Did you use the proper efficient sources.org or .edu? Now comes the key features of extended essay in general. Extended essay is compulsory for all students who take diploma program. It is one of your core elements. A student must achieve a D grade or higher to be awarded as a diploma. So if you want a diploma, a student should get minimum D. Now, if you club it with TOK, you are accessible to get those three particular points. So there is a bonus point if your E and TOK meet certain matrix, then you get a 1 bonus point, and each mark for E and TOK. Now, E process also helps students to prepare for universities and other parts beyond the diploma program as well. Now, students must choose a subject. If it is a general extended essay, the standard one, they just select one subject and do a detailed research in that subject. And if it is a world studies extended essay, students are going to do an interdisciplinary research. Now, E is a piece of independent research. This is what is more focused on. Students should consider this entire research as his own, rather than just picking up bits and parts from various sources and just integrating them into one common Word document. Then, the maximum word count a student can go is up to 4,000 words, and there is a RPPF form, which is like 500 words maximum. There will be 3 sessions that you will be spending with students, so we'll see about it in the coming slide. And definitely it's a supervised research wherein you give 40 hours of your time. So there is a 40 hours minimum expected a student spends on extended essay, and teachers can spend 2 to 5 hours guiding the student in this particular part. The third and the final will be a reflection session with a viva voce, which is included which is a conclusion of how the entire research process was for the student. Now, coming to World Studies Extended Essay, World Study Extended Essay gives students the opportunity to take an interdisciplinary study of an issue of contemporary global importance. When I say contemporary, what do you mean by that particular term? That term is very much important. I would request supervisors to tell students the importance of the word contemporary. Contemporary, in the context of World Studies Extended Essay, they're trying to say that the events that took place during the student's lifetime. If you focus on the events which took place during the student's lifetime, that is when a student will be able to find more and more resources. So if we take a why was Hiroshima and Nagasaki caused, then that is a history perspective. A single extended essay can be done on it. But a World Studies extended essay to study the cause of Hiroshima and Nagasaki would not be an appropriate research question or a global crisis. So try to make it, try to select a crisis which is more into students' lifetime rather than going back into ancient times. Then there are 4 aims for the World Studies Extended Essay. First aim is the frame and the student should frame and understand contemporary world problems and they should do an in-depth study in this particular field. So I request my students to go to global sustainable goals, select one of the crises that meet. Okay, somebody wants to join the group. Okay. Okay. So there are various frames and various problems right now. There are many other global crises which students should pick up. So whenever you're starting your World Studies Extended Essay, the first thing that students should do is pick up a global crisis rather than thinking of a topic that he or she is going to investigate. So pick up a crisis, that is the vital part. Once you have your crisis ready with you, like the cause that you want to study, then you research and gather insights from 2 or more subjects. See which 2 particular subjects will fit into your topic after you have a crisis. Then the third part is develop global consciousness. So we are going to spend some time understanding what basically a global conscious citizen means. And the fourth and the last one is view themselves as an active participant in solving this particular global crisis. So if student understands the value of this particular global crisis, say for example, I want to work on equality and inequality, I should understand how important this particular crisis is, and I should be an actor in this particular case, in this particular crisis, so that I have a good, so if it is of my interest, I'll do a better research in this particular part. So this is a quote that I found from web. I could not find who wrote this quote, but it's an interesting one. So words full of wisdom that someone important said and can make the reader get inspired. So when a student does any particular research, there are various people who are going to read that research. So it could be used as an awareness program. Once the diploma program is done, student can share that particular research question or the research with the university people or his colleagues and friends, and they can get motivated by reading this particular research. Now, what is the focus of World Studies Extended Essay? So IB recommends that you use 2 diploma program subjects, of which one of which you should be studying. So it's okay if I have one of my student is doing physics HL, but he has not selected any other sciences, but he wants to mix physics with bio, which he is not studying, then it is allowed. But if he or she is using 2 subjects which they have not enrolled in the diploma program, then the research is not allowed. So you choose 2 subjects, one of which you should be studying. This is the mandatory condition. And the second condition is you should be researching and writing the WSEE, which is World Studies Extended Essay, which should be internationally mindedness. So you're going to pick up a local example, but student should not restrict himself to the examples which he or she has found in his local community. The knowledge should be, the research should expand globally rather than only be a locally. So what is global consciousness? So there are 3 particular aspects related to global consciousness. The first one being global sensitivity. What does global sensitivity tell you? Like a student should pick up a local phenomena that is taking place in his particular surrounding, or it could be locally related to any particular country. So when I use the word local, it's not restricted only to my particular state or my particular country. The example could be from any particular country. It should be sensitive to local phenomena and experience as a manifestation of broader developments on the planet. So you pick up a local example and then do a research on this local example and relate it to your research question and see how it is going to affect globally. Then the second is global understanding. So how, once you have your global topic, global crisis, how are you going to think, how are you going to act, and how are you going to gather your researches, and how are you going to gather your resources that will, or the examples whatever have taken place related to that global crisis. So selection and knowledge and understanding is important when you're talking about global consciousness. And the last one is global self. We have already spoken about that, that a person himself should have a positive contribution to the world. He or she should consider this entire research as a value and not just to get a diploma. To be global conscious, one can have information about the world. So what are the various things or crisis going on right now? A student should be well aware of this particular crisis. So the major sources would be internet. You should follow the news, what is happening. So right now, COVID-19 is a very broad example that a student will use for World Studies Extended Essay in the coming year. Then how do you interpret this particular crisis? There are various people writing various things about this particular crisis. How are you going to pick up your sources? How are you going to rely on particular sources? So .edu, .org, .gov are the websites that are considered to be authentic websites producing authentic results. So you should be attentive to issues of global significance around you. So can you link any particular example that took place in your country or in other country to a global crisis? So the best way to deal with it would be, first of all, you select a global theme. So IB has recommended 6 global themes. I will be stating that in front of you. You select one of the global theme. Once you have your global theme, you pick up a global crisis. So I will have a topic of study into consideration. So say, for example, I am choosing my global theme as science and technology, and my topic of study would be CO2 emissions, how CO2 emissions affect the globe. Now I'm going to frame a research question, and I'm going to select my subjects that can be involved supporting this particular topic. So once I have my topic of research, then I'm going to choose my subjects. And once I have my subjects, I will have a proper focus research question. And you don't always get one research question. So you do brainstorming. You have to do a very, you have to spend lots and lots of time with students brainstorming research questions. And this happens in researchers' reflection space. So a student should always create an RRS document wherein he or she is gathering all the sources, all the information that he or she is using in his extended essay. And the last is sources of data collection. What were the various sources of data collection, primary and secondary? So state all the sources of data that you have used. So these are the 6 global themes. The first of which is conflict, peace, and security. Second being culture, language, and identity. Third is environment and economic sustainability. The fourth being equality and inequality. Then comes health and development, and finally science, technology, and society. So I have been marking the papers which are related to science, technology, and society. So major aim of having this webinar was to make people understand what World Studies Extended Essay is. We'll definitely have more webinars in coming days wherein we can mark how to mark an World Studies Extended Essay, how to efficiently write extended essay. But this is just a general idea of what World Studies Extended Essay looks like and what are the various expectations from a student. So if I pick up science, technology, and society, I can come up with an example like how does the technological development or advancements in the electrical cars affect the nation's growth or affect the particular situation. So this is one example how students can study. So when they are selecting this electric cars and relating it to any other subjects, if I'm choosing physics and economics, I'm going to study emission of CO2 emissions in physics, and I'll study implementing electric cars in a state. How has it affected the economy of a nation? So this is a global crisis because we know in coming future we are going to use electrical cars. So work of Tesla can be used. What is the impact of globalization and sustainability on e-commerce? Right now, everything is on e-commerce, Amazon, Flipkart, they are doing really well. So how has e-commerce affected the global? Then the global food crisis, global water crisis. Then we can go to global sustainable goals. This is how I present. I ask my students. I start brainstorming here itself. I ask them to pick up any one particular topic. If they pick up a topic like 7 or 11, this clearly takes me back to science, technology, and society or economic sustainability. So students can select one of these particular sustainable goals. And if you go to this particular website, there are many resources and topics already present. So a student can always tweak the topics in a way that he or she wants to research and can start researching in this particular part. And there are various resources as well on this particular website that a student can use. And all the resources are authentic. Then interdisciplinary research. When I say interdisciplinary research, what I'm trying to say, I'm identifying a topic of personal, local, and global significance. So I should have personally interest in this particular research. I should find a local example and link my research and conclusions from this local example to global significance. Then I frame a research question. I find out the various sources. I conduct primary research. I conduct interviews with people who are already doing lots of research in this particular field. Then I can have a list of all the data that I have collected. I analyze this particular data. I select the tools which will be appropriate to analyze and process this particular data. Then I come up with a method, that what particular method would I need in one of the subjects to get the results. And then integrative arguments comes into place. You can't simply just say, okay, my physics give me this answer, my economics give me this answer, these both are relating to my research question and the research is done. It should be an integrative approach. You have to study the various perspectives from economics and physics and make it look like one. We can't have two different subjects speaking out in your world studies extended essay. They should speak as one. This is the major thing that we have seen when we were marking, that students were not clear of how to integrate this to particular subject. So most of the students who did pretty well, they knew how to make and how to select the two subjects that would sound as one. So physics and economy were the maximum things that I have seen in this particular marking period. Then psychology and biology was extensively used. Then ethics and philosophy were pretty much studied, and anthropology was studied as well. So when I use the word local, what I'm trying to say is you pick up a specific example or case studies that have happened geographically locally. So you don't, if I'm in Mumbai, I'm not going to select only the examples that have happened in India or in Mumbai. It's okay if I choose an example which has happened in Japan or Korea and study it to meet my research question. So when the word local simply states that geographically local for the student. Now there are certain disciplinary lenses. So what are the purpose? What is the knowledge base? What are the various methods and forms of communication? We can spend entire day discussing this particular phenomena. So there was a webinar on interdisciplinary approach. So I won't spend much time on this lenses. Rather, we would go to how to make a meaningful connection while writing a world studies extended essay, IE. So first approach is integrative. What concepts or methods a student is going to bring together to make it look purposeful? What are the global issues that you are focusing on? And in the end, how are you integrating these two disciplines and how are you going to use them to sound it like one? So the first thing we do is give these particular questions to student and ask them to answer answer this question. How are your different disciplines related to one another in the research area you're focusing on? So students will brainstorm, they'll think, and this is where the thinking and the research process begins. Once you have answer to this question, you move on to the second question. How are you going to use your two subjects? And how are you going to come up with a combination of perspectives? And once I have this, how are you going to bring this particular disciplines together to make that this particular topic makes sense and it's not vague? So make students do such kind of activities. Now, I would request you to just spend 30 seconds to read this particular example and understand what an interdisciplinary essay looks like. And then I shall give you a few more examples related to this. So I'll be answering the questions which are posted in comment box when we start discussing, because right now I'm on the presentation. So moving from chat box to presentation will be difficult. So I'll definitely take on the questions. If there are some questions which I have not answered, I'll definitely save the chat and I'm going to reply you personally. I have your email ID, so that won't be a problem. But we'll try to take more discussions into picture. And this is the second example. So I'm going to share this slide with you. So you can always spend time understanding how an interdisciplinary approach looks like. I am also going to spend time. It would be better if you mute yourselves because, yes, thank you. So how do you select and evaluate disciplinary insight? So students should look beyond a discipline's context. So if I am choosing physics or I am choosing biology, I'm not going to stick to my content which I have. Try if I'm studying atomic or nuclear physics, if I'm having an research which is based on nuclear explosions, I'm going to expand my knowledge. I'm going to see how this particular thing can be taken ahead of my notebook and textbook. So what are the insights, findings, theories, methods, techniques, approaches, and how are you going to communicate your research with the audience is important. So these are the various factors that we mark students on. Did you actually go and find something out, or did you simply read a book, read a research paper and wrote the entire world studies extended essay? Just having one source supporting your argument is not accepted. So the student will have to dig in deep to understand this. So there are multiple forms of integration which students have to answer. So after this particular slides, I'm going to take you through the process how I introduce world studies to my students. So the first complex explanation, which is a form of multiple integration technique, is uh, complex integration. So research questions often require you to understand why and how a complex event occurs. So why is this particular climate changing? Why did individuals behave the way they were behaving in the past? Why is the diabetes more prominent in this particular state or this particular human population than others? So whenever you are trying to study such kind of questions, wherever you are addressing questions like this, which requires you to draw an expertise which is stemming from more than one subject discipline, you can always integrate the insights. Now, see, I'm using the word insights from different disciplines to give a complex integration. So I'm going to take you through various examples. So whenever you are dealing with such examples, what you are doing is complex integration. Now, what is contextualization? So the second thing is contextualization. In contextualization, it's placing of a particular concept or an issue which is arising from one discipline in a larger historical, cultural, or philosophical framework. So if I have an issue which has, say for example, let's take the issue of students using mobile, which is development of ITGS, and studying the psychology. So how has technological development of cell phones affected the psychology of students' mind? Now this is directly going into historical, cultural, and philosophical framework. So you're going to study the trend of the technological development, and the basic topic of this would be psychology, but you are relating it to historical, cultural, and philosophical framework. So you can always integrate disciplines in meaningful ways when you want to examine the historical, cultural, or philosophical context. So whenever you are dealing with such kind of thing, you are contextualizing such particular examples. The third one is transdisciplinary exploration. So in transdisciplinary, or sometimes they're also known as crossover tools, you have to do careful observation. So you know there are few subjects wherein you collect primary data which requires careful observation. So the two major subjects that are coming into my mind right now is biology and arts, also physics. Well, in biology, if you don't take proper readings, if your data collection is not taken properly, or you're not observing the specimen which is given to you properly, you are going to end up getting more and more errors. Now, history, physics, philosophy are history, physics, and geography are evidence-based reasoning. So you need evidence which are produced in this particular subject. So whether you're doing observation based or evidence based reasoning, will take you always to transdisciplinary exploration. Then comes artistic synthesis. So this time I found 4 extended essays which were very beautifully uh, communicated, and they had used art forms in this to explain their research. So what they did is they had an historical monument. They related, they chose a global crisis as a demolition of artifacts. So you can say various monuments which are very much historically important. Say I would just take a random example of Taj Mahal. So imagine after 40 years somebody is not keeping it properly. So a student actually read the structures of Taj Mahal and gave how important it was for the people during that particular era. So the anthropology used and the history used to describe this, he gave him full marks. A poem, sometimes they also come up with a resource which is a poem or a write-up from an any particular artist, and then you have a conversation if that particular person is still alive, and you come and interpret why that particular person wrote, say for example, a poem on climate change. So what made that person write that particular poem? Was there crisis or something was happening in it surrounding? Right now due to COVID-19, many people are coming up with various songs, so you can obviously research that particular song and try to integrate with the global crisis of COVID-19. So basically you translate your knowledge of the topic into evocative symbolism, then consider multiple possible interpretations that are taking place. So I'll take you through one example, and I want you to tell me which particular bandwidth it is going to fit. So artistic synthesis is done. So let me just show you one example, and you tell me which particular form of integration it fits into. I'm going to share this document with you, this example, so that you can do more and more activity. So I'll give you answers also of this particular part. So whenever you check your Google Drive, you'll get answers. So I hope this is readable. So Judy's essay involves a critique of historical monument commemorating the lives lost during the Rwanda genocide of 1994. Her paper offers an overview of the long-standing tribal conflicts in the region, the colonial era that suppressed public expression of such tension, and drastic decisions that led to the loss of 800,000 lives. So historical insights illuminate her interpretation of aesthetic choices and symbolism employed in the monument, such as the use of sand clock to mark the unprecedented speed at which the genocide was unleashed, or the location proposed for the monument as one enters the US Holocaust Memorial Museum. So what do you think, which particular criteria it fits into, or which particular form of integration it fits into? So the first one is complex explanation, second is contextualization, third one is transdisciplinary exploration, and fourth is artistic synthesis. So you as an individual, where would you see this particular example lying into? You can write your answers into chat box. So I have an answer, one of the, okay, so contextualization. Any other things that you can relate it to? I'll take you through what contextualization is again. So right now let's stick to one answer which we have got so far, which is contextualization. So I would again brief you about what contextualization is. So you have a particular concept, you have a particular issue arising in one particular discipline, and you are relating it to historical, cultural, and philosophical framework. So it definitely fits into contextualization, but our visual arts students could also fit this thing into artistic synthesis, because it involves a historical monument, or it has an historical monument, and he or she is more interested into studying the symbols which are used. So there are various examples and exercises like this which helps you to understand what are the various integration techniques. So we can always do that. So I'll share that thing on the drive. So this is the form which I give to my students. So once I have done brainstorming a detailed brainstorming of what world studies extended essay is, what are the various forms of integration, how an interdisciplinary approach, what interdisciplinary approach looks like. So I take them through various activities to understand how to have two subjects integrated into one, and then I give them this particular form. So I'll show you how this particular form looks like. So this is the form. So make things happen. I tell students that you should always make things happen. It will look complicated, but definitely it will work. So the first thing is they select a global theme. So after the brainstorming and everything, we have given them sufficient time to explore. I simply share this form with them and just to see what they are trying to, what is in their mind. So they select one of this particular topic. So say let's select science, technology, and society. Then state the topic selected for the World Studies Extended Essay. So say I am using a topic which is on beach cleanup or less use of plastic. So that becomes my umbrella topic, plastic, and then I relate it to a global crisis wherever I see. So which global crisis are you focusing on? How the selected topic implies global importance. So if student has done a research, he'll be able to answer this question. But if just for the sake of filling a form, I am writing, oh, I'm going to study modeling natural calamities, then it is not going to help. Then which particular local topic of importance are you planning to explore? So local manifestation. Okay, I'm going to study an NGO which did a very good work. So let me give you an example. So there is an NGO known as Beach Please, started by a student, and who is young, just 21 years old. He got an award from UN also. So he tried cleaning the beaches of Mumbai on his own, and then this thing started spreading, we had more and more participation, more and more volunteers coming to clean this beach. So how has this particular local example, how can you link this particular example to a global level? So this could be a possible extended essay that a student can do. State the two interdisciplinary subjects that you are going to do for the extended essay. Then which of the selected subjects are you studying as a part of diploma program? So this, I am making sure that one of the subject chosen is the subject that a student is studying. Then we ask the question of integration, because this is the place where student does not understand what I have to do. If student knows clearly which integration I am doing, selection of sources, framing of research questions becomes very easy, because I had problems initially when I was doing world studies extended essay. We were not able to come up to a common conclusion of framing a research question. But when we employed this particular technique of sticking to one particular integration and then exploring it further, this is working very well for my students. So starting from global theme and the breakup which you see, it's clearly working for students. How would the selected subject provide an interdisciplinary approach? Why do you think the two subjects that you are using are very much related for this thing? And what form of primary or secondary sources you will be using? So there is no restriction in world studies extended essay that you will definitely have to do an experimentation. It could be an extended essay completely based on secondary data. It could be completely based on primary data. But how am I going to get a primary data for a global crisis? So indirectly, you definitely have a secondary data source in your exploration. So as a physics and psychology experiment, if I'm doing an research wherein I have involved physics and psychology, physics will definitely involve some kind of experimentation, and I have my analysis and research done. I have certain conclusion. Now I have to map this particular conclusion to certain global evidence which is present. So I take secondary data resources, I go to certain newspaper articles, I watch certain documentaries which are officially made on those particular topics. I study media statements and gather my data to support my conclusion which I have received. This is the best part. Sometimes students just write, okay, I did a lot of survey and personal interview to support my arguments. But how did you basically decide on the subjects? So what were your subjects? So if I want to interview some people, how have I narrowed down my research, which particular individuals I am going to focus on? Even if I am doing survey, I can't do a random survey where I am going to just give this survey to my classmates and in my school and gather the data. You will have to focus the proper crowd. So if I'm studying about good education, quality education for all, or if I'm studying about food crisis, it would be best if I am sharing this survey with a person who is actually suffering from this particular part, or NGOs which are actually working towards it, rather than just sharing it with my colleagues. Or if students have some other ideas, they can always write what ideas they have. And I also give them preference of selecting their own world studies extended as a supervisor. So students usually select their own supervisor, but then if one supervisor is selected by most of the crowd, then it goes back to the supervisor who he or she wants to work with. So this is the form. I'll share the link to this particular form. You can make a copy for yourself, and so I'll give you editing rights, so you can design this form in a way that you want to and share it with your students. Now, once this Google form is done, I take them through this particular process, how to particularly write, or what is the approach, what is the sequence in which you are going to explore your world studies. So the first thing is, as I said, dimension and disciplines, and answer few questions. Ask questions. Why do you think it is going to fit into this criteria? What is the approach or methodology that you are going to use? What is the title? Then come to research question. Then you have a global local perspective. So I have many examples like this, this is from IBO, which I have taken, but I personally have many examples which I'll share with you. So you can spend time reading this particular example. So even if you go through 3 or 4 examples, it becomes very much clear how a world studies extended essay is supposed to be approached. Then we talk about the disciplines. So what I have seen, what most of the students are doing is they select their subjects which they like. They say like, okay, I want to do a research which is based on physics and eco. Now let me select my global crisis and let me select my sources. This is not always going to work. It definitely works in some cases, but not in all cases. So this particular model is definitely working for me and my students. Then I found a very good resource on the website when I was going through Google. There's a good book which is Interdisciplinary Research Process and Theory by Alan Repko and Rick Zostek. So I'll just show you a glimpse of how a step-by-step interdisciplinary research has to be done. And there are various questions which are very much useful. And if a student is able to give answer to this particular statements, his extended essay will be exactly how we want in IB. So this is how, so there are many things. I'm going to play with this particular document, and I'll create my own document. I'll share this as well so that you can work with this. So this is so far the best resource that I have found on interdisciplinary process. Now the next thing is, how do we interpret assessment criteria? So I'm just going to read out a document to you, because I did not get time to actually study that document, put it in a presentation. So I'll just say a few points. I'll copy paste the document into the drive as well. So the criteria is focus and method. So what are the strands that I am going to study when I'm relying on focus and method? The first strand that I study is topic, then comes research question, and then comes the methodology. So all these 3 criteria are aligned with focus and method. So make sure your IA is extended essay is presented in such a way that I have a very focused research question, I have a topic before that research question, and I have a proper method. So a student will have to explain how he or she has approached to a design of an experimentation that he or she wants to do. So the significance and importance of global issue must be established. Then he or she needs to justify their research question. Now, why you have identified these subjects which are suitable for your extended essay. So whenever you're writing an world studies extended essay, the introduction part of world studies extended essay is going to be longer than the traditional standard extended essay. So it's okay if the introduction part of world studies extended essay is very long. it's acceptable and it's much needed, because you are going to give justification for each and every part why I have chosen these subjects. So see, when students are filling that particular Google form, that could be a thing as a reference which is ready for them to answer such questions. They highlight the material sources and data and evidences from two subjects. How have they chosen these particular subjects is an important part. What is the benefit of integrative approach? And what do you mean by integrative arguments? So you can't simply write, okay, so I did this research, I found this, and I think this is appropriate. This is not going to work. You have to give evidence for each and every statement that you are making. Otherwise, everything will be considered as a vague argument. Now, primary sources could be artworks done by people in the past, or it could be a new form of art that you are seeing people are doing. So there was an interesting world studies extended essay on the temple architecture, how traditional temples used to look and how a model temple is looking right now, and how are the temples in the various countries changing their structures. So the primary sources in this case were the works of art, and this was mathematics and history. So various art forms were used. People sometimes always use film and music to support their arguments, and it is accepted. Now, whenever I'm using film and music, I'm not supposed to give link to CDs or link to any YouTube. I'm just going to state that I use this particular resource. I got this CD from this particular part, and it is an authentic source of data. An examiner is not going to look at any particular links which you have mentioned in your extended essay. Then you can have various personal interviews. Then you can have self-generated survey data which is focused on a community, which is linked to your research question. Then there are certain reports of experiments. So there was an interesting extended essay done on the IB itself. So IB produces coordinator notes, and we have examiner reports coming every now and then. So there was a extended essay done on that. So choices of topics and everything becomes very vital in this particular place. Now, if the topic of research or the research question which student has framed is deemed inappropriate for the subject in which essay is generated, a student will never ever get more than 4 marks in each of the criteria. So there are mark bands given for each and every criteria, that if your research question is not meeting the basic criteria of world studies, you will only get this particular mark. Then comes knowledge and understanding, the knowledge bases of different subjects. What are the key terms that you are using? What are the concepts that you are using is very important to showcase in your essay. You can't simply use it and get your results. You will have to explain why you are using, what made you do that. So if a student is using history to explore an issue, they must use the skills of historians, such as establishing causation, partiality, reliability of sources. A simple narrative will not be enough for your world studies. Now, criteria C, critical thinking, 12 marks. This is the most important criteria where student gets low marks because they don't know what to do for this. They simply understand that I have to do some kind of analysis, get some result, plot some graph, and do evaluation, and this will give me marks. But this is not just the case. Even if you do this part, you will get marks, but there are certain aspects related to world study framework. So you can have experimental work that you have done, whatever research you have done. So research should be taken. So basically what I'm trying to say is students should analyze and evaluate their evidences in such a way that they could present their ideas in form of a logical and a coherent argument, rather than simply stating, okay, this was my experiment and I got this particular result. So a complex causal explanation is needed. A model, a student can always build a model, and some analogies to support their integrative argument. So if there are no integrative argument or coherency seen in the extended essay, you will be at a loss. A student will not score highest marks in this. So I have made my own criteria sheet with a checklist and the framework. I'll share that thing with you. And lastly, there is presentation part, which is very much important, the structure and the layout. In your front title, you should only have a title, research question, your word count, and which particular topics that you are using. 60% of the extended essays that I get to mark does not state directly which two subjects are used. Then it comes to examiner to decide which two subjects are used in the extended essay. So it's better if you put the subjects that you are using in world studies extended essay in the front page itself. If you are not putting page numbers, you will be penalized. We have seen students are not using page numbers. Then the use of images, the images which they have put, they are not readable. Okay, it was very much interesting, but I can't read it, so definitely I'll mark it down. Then what, there are various new types of graphs which have come and students are using it in economics. A student can himself or herself plot a graph in a book, draw some diagrams in book, take a picture of that and use in the extended essay. That is also acceptable. Bibliography is very much essential. See the selection of sources that you are using. Sometimes you get information supporting your source into a website which is not authentic. So ukessays.com. This is a website which is already writing an essay for a student. I know student has not paid and written an entire extended essay from that particular website, but there are free resources section in that website wherein you go and you find certain data supporting your argument. So sometimes students just cite those particular websites rather than finding the original sites, and this takes them to an academic dishonesty or plagiarism, and they get low marks. And criteria E, engagement. Ask your student to give evidence for whatever challenges they have faced, write about the challenges they have faced, and show what all skills they have developed, conceptual understanding they have developed during the course of doing this particular research, and what they would do differently if they were to take this research again, and what were the various questions that came into the student's mind. So sometimes when student comes for an interim reflection, that is when student says, I felt that this should have been done differently. So mention this particular part in your engagement, because this shows that your thinking has evolved, student has developed skills. So in engagement, we are just going to focus, and whenever we are marking engagement, we don't look at the essay. Engagement has to be marked on its own. So I personally look for the skills that student has particularly developed. Now comes what are the various problems that a student faces when he or she is doing world studies extended essay. So in criteria E, indirectly student makes his or her essay more descriptive rather than analytical. So making arguments is very essential in this part. Sometimes the research is too broad, and sometimes it's too narrow, and sometimes it has lost its track. It started very well and in the end it lost. So sometimes you will find extended essay in which introduction is written very nicely, but you never see student doing whatever was said in the introduction part. It is unclear why this is relevant to the subject in which it is registered. It is unclear why an interdisciplinary approach was necessary. Just for sake of doing world studies extended essay that it will look good in my portfolio, students sometimes do world studies, and it does not fit into this particular approach. Sources are narrowly focused. The methodology approach is presented, but it is not actually implemented. Now, sometimes there are semi-structured interviews. So appendix play a vital role. If you are writing, I have done a survey, but you're not putting that part in appendix, how would I know that you have actually done a survey? So appendix is not marked, but it is checked. Then students sometimes have difficulty putting the area of research or research question in a context. So general background is given rather than setting up an argument. So he or she will just give, oh, this thing has happened, but what was the conclusion? You never mentioned what was the conclusion. So sometimes there is a tendency towards broad strokes rather than a deep understanding of the subject. There is little critical analysis of the sources used. See, when I say critical analysis, if you want to score more marks in critical thinking, do critical analysis of the sources that you have used, not the data that you have collected. So go more deeper into the sources, try to find out more support for your sources that you are using related to your research question. Integration sometimes becomes very unclear or superficial, which leads to less marks. So student should summarize his or her findings without attempting to draw all the ideas together into an argument. So always what student does in the end is he or she will try to summarize the entire part that he or she has taken, but a common integrative argument clearly stating that this is the thing that I have got from my entire research, and it supports my research question. Therefore, my extended essay is done. So you don't need a brief summary that we do in normal extended essay in world studies. Simply state the evidence, simply build up your arguments, and give justification for your argue. But make sure in the conclusion your argue is answered. If you keep your argue unanswered until the end, you will be marked down for it. So your global footprint. So these are certain things which I show it to my students, that it is world studies extended essay not just for scoring marks, but it's for developing your mindset, how an individual thinks, and in this particular crisis situation, how we need to support each other. Now, this is the process diagram. This is how I would personally carry out a world studies process for my, so whenever a student comes in year one, so if my batch starts in August, so August, September, and uh, August, September, October, and November, say 4 months or 3 months are given to the students to build up on their topics. They study the context, they get used to the IB diploma program. And in November, I would request introduction of E by DPC. So DP coordinator can in general introduce extended essay to the entire batch, or extended essay coordinators are there in school who can take up this session. Now, once this general session is done by DPC, then we can have subject specific presentations by different departments. So our DPC, Mr. Declan, does this part. So distributes, he asks all teachers to give one lesson to present extended essay to students, so that students have an idea how extended essay will look in that particular subject. Then we have a brainstorming session with students in December. So you have introduced extended essay, we have given time students to digest what extended essay is. Then we have a brainstorming session wherein we introduce various interdisciplinary approach and activities, and building up their thinking and processing the sources and everything. So we give them certain topic and ask them to find out various sources related to this. So there are various activities like this, and we give few samples to review so that they get an idea how an world studies extended essay look like. And this is the point in December before going for a Christmas break, wherein they select their global crisis and they select their interdisciplinary subjects. Now, RQ, I would leave it to you personally how you would like to implement, but I would tell them don't have an RQ before going to a break, but at least think what are the possible questions that are coming up into your mind. Now, since they're going on a Christmas break, the only work which extended essay work that they have is to come up with a research question in January. So in January, the first day of the school, we share that Google form with them, and that is when they start answering this. Then decide focus on the method, like how are you going to have your focus, what is the methodology that you're going to use. And this is when the first reflection meeting happens. So once student is done with his methodology and focus, now this is where he or she meets the supervisor formally to discuss, okay, these are the things, do you think this is proper or not? So accordingly, we write down the first reflection into RPPF form. Then we have selection of sources, validation of the sources. You select sources randomly, then see, give me the proof why these sources are valid. Then which are you using a primary source or a secondary source? Then world studies extended essay introduction in March. So when I say introduction, means they write down the introduction. So a student has to write this particular introduction properly, and there will be a deadline for submission of this particular introduction part. So I have a very big introduction in world studies extended essay, and I expect student to write this. Even if this particular part is done properly, a student is scoring full marks in criteria A. So what you're trying to build up in this many months is building criteria A of the students, and indirectly using criteria B also, because you are using subjects that you have used. Then comes April, wherein we give time students for data collection, data processing, how are they going to analyze that data, then they form their integrative arguments. And when they come for their interim reflection, which is the second reflection, which we are going to lock down on RPPF form, we discuss the pro and cons of this particular research that a student has done. Now, June is the time, then we submit an EE draft. So a basic draft, how entire extended essay is going to look like. And they can utilize their summer break for completion of EE draft. So we are going to set deadlines in June and July, saying that you have to make a draft and utilize summer break for completion of this particular draft. Once they are back in their year 2, we can set a deadline for the first draft, give feedback on that draft, then set the deadlines for the final extended essay, which could be flexible because each and every teacher has his or own approach. But I would like to get students free from extended essay work by December itself, so that they don't have, so they can focus on their theory and then have third reflection session and viva voce. So practical uses would be research, developing skills. It looks good in university portfolio and sustainability. So you're producing an evidence. So this is the general framework of world studies extended essay. So if you have any other queries and if you want me to go into detail into any part, if you want to do a webinar on marking of world studies extended essay, we can do that. So this was just a general introduction to understand how world studies looks like. So we can discuss right now if we have any questions. So thank you very much for being patient and listening to me. So I have completed my marking on 5th May and I started.
Hello.
And
Hi, Mr.
Hello.
Love. May I please talk
Hello.
to you?
yeah, please.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Love. This is Rupa from Jakarta. I'm the extended essay coordinator of my school.
Hello.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It is great listening to you. But I would like to know, as you said that you are the examiner, tell me, and you mentioned that biology and psychology is a great option. But if a student is keen to take biochemistry or biophysics, do you recommend that?
See, recommending that is not a problem, but so that is where our judgment comes into picture. Will the student be able to produce integrative arguments? Now, if I am choosing physics and chemistry and I'm selecting a topic which is related to nuclear physics, now I am in an ambiguity. I don't have evidence whether this will link to chemistry or physics. So there are very, very rare cases where two sciences like this are explored. So ideally, we would say no, but bio and chem, they are still, it can be done because you have certain bacteria and certain chemicals, and how a combination of these two are working towards one path. So just brainstorming myself, COVID-19 case, how has this particular virus affected human body biology, and what is the chemical composition of this particular compound which is making it spread this much. So we can always explore such things. But physics and chemistry, I would never recommend. Bio and chemistry, we can still go on with it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Salam salam.
Hi,
Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you. So how the video, would we get a recorded video?
yes, I'll be sharing recorded video. I'll email you all. So with all
The
the
link.
resources and links will be attached to that video itself in the description part of the video. So that won't be a
Okay.
problem.
And thank you so much. I think I'll later follow up with
Yeah,
other
and I'll be
documents.
loading the entire Google Drive with the resources also. Right now it looks empty, but within a week it will be loaded with all the resources that I have for world studies.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Love.
Hi.
Yeah, this is Kuntal from Econ Mandal World School. I'm the E-coordinator. This is my second year, but this year we have two world studies students, and I'm promoting that. In fact, I need your guidance on one of my students is doing world studies EE with English and geography. So when we take subject with English, how do we actually go about a little bit of guidance on your end on this, please?
Yeah, so the major part was, I'll just give you one example and then I'll perfectly answer your question. So students
Sure.
have been using geography as a world
Hmm.
studies and combining it with various subjects. So what happens is they study geography just for the location. So they'll just simply state that I'm studying desert area, therefore a geography came into picture, and they'll entirely explore the physics behind it. But there was no concepts and terms used from the geographical part. So this makes a very bad world studies extended essay. Now, if I'm
Okay.
coming to your question, English
Hmm.
and which were the two subjects, English and?
English and geography. So the student wants to do something on migration from geography and then using an English text. So how do we, like, we had a little bit of brainstorm over here. But I need little bit of guidance on this end over here.
So let me give you one example, which is very
Yes.
interesting. Like a student was exploring poems written in certain situation. So you can have a certain topic like climate change, and a student researched climate change poems in English on various based on various geographical locations. So you don't select 5 geographical location, but come up with a conclusion why I'm selecting this to particular location. Now, India and Pakistan are two different countries, but ultimately they were one country in the past. So the poems of English from both the countries lead to the same bandwidth, or they are still different. Or we can always link English poems to. So here comes English in some other countries and English in USA. We can always connect them together. But I have few examples of English with other subjects, so I'll definitely share them with you. And I'll definitely
This
tell
is
you about English part. I have resources. I have other colleagues who is especially working with English extended essays, like world studies essays. So I'll talk to her and I'll give you more details on this. I'll email you.
thank you so much. This much insight also go very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr.
So
Love.
do we
This
have
is
any more questions? Hi.
Rathi here.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes, you can talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. As I said, one of my student wishes to do. Yeah, one of my student wishes to do physics with ITGS, and he had come up with a suggestion of how modeling and simulations are used in physics. I know it's a broad topic, but is this workable?
Yeah, it's workable. It's definitely workable. I had 10 or 12 experiences which use ITGS. So this electrical cars idea which I am giving clearly use ITGS. Even the work of Tesla and the development of ITGS industry and the e-commerce was studied. So ITGS with e-commerce, with economics was studied by a student. Then piezoelectric sensors, like students, whenever you walk on these sensors, they generate electricity. So how it is going to bring down the economy, bring down the climate change that is taking place. So students do many kind of research on this. One of the example is composite plastic and the Mangalyaan. So Mangalyaan mission is India's first mission to Mars, which was done at a very lower cost. So they use the plastic, so which is a composite plastic. So global crisis is wastage of uh, global crisis would be saving the plastic, not throwing them into beach, and utilizing plastic in a sustainable way. And how it was used in Mangalyaan, and how it can be used into uh, various other industries, and what technology made this thing happen. So this was ITGS with physics. So wherein you have development of technologies related directly to space exploration.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So we can definitely discuss this thing later. You can always email me. I can answer you and help you narrow down the topic. So Miss Lisa, I'll definitely get back to you on Tuesday.
Sure. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you.
So any more questions from people, or any feedback or suggestions that you would like to give?
Good evening, Mr. Trivedi.
Good evening.
I have a question. Sometimes the combination of subjects can be very extreme.
Yes.
Will you advise that we take up two supervisors for the World Studies Extended Essay?
Yes, that's the interesting part, that a supervisor, if I am a physics teacher and a student has been allotted to me, a student is free to discuss it with different teachers as well, take different perspectives. This is what world studies is about. So you give a supervisor just for the guidance of format and everything, but I alone, so if a student is doing physics with the English, I am pretty bad at it. So I'll definitely send this guy to English teacher, but I'll make him understand the criteria, how you are going to present, how you are going to select your sources, So that would be my major role as a single supervisor. But I would say that a single supervisor is fine for a world studies extended essay student, but different he should be told that he can approach other teachers for ideas, and that won't be taken in an offensive way. Because usually what happens, if my student, physics student, goes and asks chemistry teacher, I'll be offended. Oh, why did you go to him? So that shouldn't happen. So that's fine.
Okay. And as a supervisor, when you are grading the world studies extended essay, will you take the help from the other subject teacher in understanding how much the other subject has been incorporated properly or not?
Here comes the another important aspect of writing an extended essay. An extended essay should be written in such a way that any reader of your research should understand. So if I am using a theory, say I am using quantum mechanics, I am using one of the part of the quantum mechanics, I am forced to explain that theory. So even if an English individual is reading my essay, he or she should be able to interpret this essay. I'm not supposed to ask any other examiners or my team leader for the support in this particular case, because I am going to make an holistic judgment on the essay. So this should be made clear, because there was a situation wherein students use CRISPR-Cas9. So biology teachers would know this is a genetic technology which is used. And I did not know what is this CRISP. Student is talking for half of the extended essay about CRISP technology, but what is CRISP technology? You have to explain this. If you don't explain, your reader is not going to understand, and you're definitely going to mark down if I don't understand your approach.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mr. Love, hi Rupa again. I was just listening to the conversation and thinking about my student. I just want to ask, like, yeah, I can understand if it is a physics particular extended essay or a subject particular extended essay, it will take the student to a certain focus guided area, right? But
Yeah.
when it comes to WSEE, and then when we call for a embedded, then how do you measure that which is the more prominent and which is the more guided subject, and the other one is going into the lower having the lower quantity or kind of stuff?
So that is why I use that integration technique with my students. I do three, as I said, I do 3 or 4 activities with students to make them handy of how to select these interdisciplinary subjects. So I'll share my activities with you. It has a proper framework, like a flow chart. If anybody has worked with flow chart, if yes, move on to here. If no, move on to here. So I have such kind of framework which I'll share with you, and it really works for students as well as teachers. So it would be better if I can show you that flowchart. So I'll email you that flowchart along with this.
Okay, so I will send you my hello email to you. If you don't mind, if you can send me. And I really need your guidance for to embed it to bring English with the other subject.
Yeah,
Because
definitely. I have noted that thing down, and I'm going to
Yeah.
put more
Yeah.
samples on it. Because
Okay.
I usually mark science and technology part. So English does not come that much. So I have hardly marked 1 or 2 papers which were English based into science and technology. So people using English for science and technology were very less. But I'll definitely get more topics for you. So
Okay.
that will go
Okay.
well.
Okay. That will be great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. So I don't think we have more questions. So thank you for being patient and listening to this. And let me know if you need any particular help in marking, or if we should do webinar on any particular specific area of world studies extended essay. I know I did not cover the major part because 1 hour is a very less time to explore the entire world studies extended essay, because I can't even present world studies extended essay to my students in 1 hour. It takes me 2 or 3 sessions to do this. So bear with me. So thank you, everyone.
Will you share your PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, I'll be doing that. Yes, I'll be doing. So within a day or two, you'll receive an email also.
Okay.
Email with all the links, and this presentation will also be in the Google Drive. You can make a copy for yourself, and you can start editing. So it will have viewing rights, but you can always make a copy for.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
It was a very informative session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Love, do you
Thank you.
mind
I'm very grateful.
if I'll invite you as a guest speaker to my EE session then?
Yeah, that's not a problem because I have done that for IA. So I had an IA session, IA webinar, and I did 2 IA sessions with different schools. So that's okay. I'm here to collaborate with different schools, and we should focus on students' development. So that's my ultimate goal. The students should benefit most from this.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
the
That
problem.
will be great. That will be great. Thank you. Thank you so much once again. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Love, for such an informative session.
Thank you, Mr. Praveen.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
So, thank you. Thank
Mr.
you.
Love, Mr. Love, if I can ask you as an excellent essay coordinator, what are the things
Yeah.
you do like throughout the year? What are the things you do?
So
Apart from taking a general session for the teachers and students and then fixing the timeline, apart from that.
So what I would request is we can have various professional development, but not like IB workshops, but we have various. So I have gathered various resources. I have done few brainstorming sessions. So we build up activities, and we do these activities with teachers also. So it's always good to have a common staff meeting and do activities with students to with teachers to bring them on a line to understand how this approach is, because everyone is expert in their own subjects, but when it comes to world studies the things become very haywire, and it happened to me in the beginning, and I had to brainstorm so much to come to a common conclusion. So I share the entire timeline, all the activities that I am doing with teachers also, and with my community. So we have SAIPSA, so we go in SAIPSA and we can do various things. So I'm going to have a world studies extended essay this time introducing job alike sessions. So we can do various things online also. So say for example, even if we have 5 teachers who wants to work together on world studies extended essay, we can do few activities. We can develop our own PDs that we can help other teachers to do. So I can always share those things with the extended essay coordinators. So just let me know and I can share those things with you.
Yeah, because I'm the extended coordinator, I would like to connect with you in this
No
regard.
problem, no problem. I'll definitely share things with you.
Yours like love3 Vedi and at gmail.com, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Thank
Sir.
you. So yeah, I'm signing off. Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.